Now, incidences of rape seem to be on the rise across major urban centers of Nigeria, but the striking thing is that predominant cases of this sexually deviant behavior are usually about the violation or molestation of the female gender by the opposite sex. Critically, public conversations about the young male person suffering similar sexual exploitation has thus far been minimal in comparison. A short film titled Dices hopes to change this particular narrative by raising awareness on sexual abuse on boys and its psychological effects. Joining us now to look at this short film and have a short conversation around this is the producer of the film, Sandra Tetteh. Sandra, I want to say thank you very much for joining us here on Newsday. And I want to say, first of all, thank you very much for trying to highlight something that almost everyone tries to overlook. And that is the fact that sexual molestation of any kind is a one-way traffic, men to women, and not women to men.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that you just said it all, because that's actually what inspired me to do the movie. Because when we think about sexual-based violence, it's mostly focused on the females as the victims and not necessarily males. So one thing that inspired me to talk about the movie was someday I was sitting down at home and I was just thinking to myself, how do boys start having sex? Where does this come from? And then I started speaking to some friends and they were like, oh, when I was 5 years old, when I was 10, one of my aunts was in the house and this happened and this happened. And I said to them, do you know that's sexual assault? Do you know you were assaulted? Do you know you were harassed? And they're like, really? For real? That's what happened? I'm like, yes. So that got the conversation going. And I realized that it wasn't just one or two or three. It was like all across broad that I noticed that this is something that's been going on. And when you ask boys to speak up or to talk, they're always like, who would believe me? Like, first of all, it's a male ego, right? You had sex at 10, 11, 12. That's such a good thing. And that's something that other males praise you for. But I came up and I said to them, no, this is what happened to you. And I found out that some of them actually did suffer from a bit of mental abuse. And this is something that we've seen. So I spoke to a couple of people in the hospital and I went to Yaba and I had a bit of meeting. And they said, yes, this is what we're experiencing. Some people will have anxiety and some of these disorders, mostly because of this is where it started from. They were abused as kids. And a lot of boys were not speaking up. So that actually inspired the movie Dices. And that's where we are right now.
Yeah, kudos once again for actually highlighting that.
That is, it's very important that, we realize that, men and women, boys and girls are human beings. So what works for one usually works for the other. And in terms of psychological abuse, definitely speaking about it is, it's known to help. I want to know, in terms of making the movie, it seems like you have a well-known cast. What was it like preparing the script and getting them to understand how important the message was so that they could execute it in a good and timely manner? Because I'm guessing you had to do it quite fast.
Surprisingly, it wasn't. We started making of Dices in April of 2021 this year. And it started with my writer, Tomi Adeshina, who is so brilliant and absolutely amazing. And I told her what I wanted. And she said, Sandra, yes, this is a good story. I think we should do this. We don't think this is been said as often as it should be said. When I started getting the actors, to come on set, and I spoke to my lead actor at the time, and he just jumped right on it. He said, yes, I understand this thing. I know what this is about, so I really want to do it. And it wasn't just him, it was almost everyone on the cast, because fortunately we had mostly males on the cast and the crew as well. And then they came out in their numbers and they said, we have to tell this story. And then I realized what I was doing. It was a culture. It was something that was sweeping across every single guy that you come, again, like I said, talk to. And everyone was on board. The actors themselves came with their A game. Actually directing the younger one, his mom did a more fantastic job. So when I saw him and I told him, oh, how are you going to do? What do you think is happening right now? And he said to me, the head teacher did some bad things to young David when David was young, and I just know I have to be in character for that. So it was much easier knowing that everyone understood where we were going with this movie and what it was about. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Finally, just briefly, talk to me, because I must say that these stories are not told more enough, but what has been the reaction to this look, you've spoken about the cast reaction, but what has the general populace, what has been the reaction of the viewers that have actually seen this or actually heard about this project?
So Dices was released 4 days ago, and I put it out there on YouTube, and everyone has access to it. So far on Twitter, I've been getting a lot of inbox. People have sending messages on my DM and telling me, yes, you're telling my story. Thank you so much for going out here. This is me. And we've been getting a lot of reactions like that from people coming up. So at the end of the film, you'd see that we have numbers, people who would call, and they've also reached out to me. I told Sandra, we're receiving some calls from some people, even if we don't have much viewership right now, which is why I'm here to talk about it, so that we can be able to promote this film in a wider space, so people can be able to watch and be able to know that there's actually people you can reach out to. So far it's been good. It's just been 4 days we released Dices, and we've been able to get like good number of people to talk about the movie.
Dice is on YouTube. Okay,
Dice is on YouTube,
I'll certainly check it out.
Yes, and we wish you all the best. Much kudos for all your work and sharing this story, and wishing you all the best, Sandra.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always a pleasure.
Okay.